Mario, what do you want?
Patansunan po kada po fratello. Ito talaga itong simparakete.
I see. Well, how about this as a proposition? If I give you my personal rankings on all 96 tracks in 8 Deluxe, will you let me go?
Ma, tutto na pagkinapato.
Thank you. Anyway, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has one of the most interesting histories when it comes to being a game. It originally started out as Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U, and with the Wii U console being one of Nintendo's biggest failures, the game sort of failed to gain any traction. Even the original DLC, that includes 16 new tracks and new characters like Link, Villager, and the Inklings didn't help matters. So Nintendo would quickly work to develop a new system that would eventually be known as the Nintendo Switch. Instead of making a new Mario Kart game for the console, Nintendo decided to remake Mario Kart 8 and make some improvements, including a better battle mode and add some fan favorite characters. Eventually, Nintendo would make another DLC called the Booster Course Pass, which will double the original 48 tracks to 96, and was used to help preserve the courses for Mario Kart Tour once its servers eventually shut down. Today, 8 Deluxe stands as one of the top grossing games of all time, as well as the greatest Mario Kart game in the series, due to its variety of courses and characters. Speaking of which, it's now time to list my rankings of the top Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tracks from worst to best. So with that being said, let's begin. Tokyo Blur is not only the worst city course in the game, but it's also the worst course in the entire game. You would imagine that since Nintendo is based in Japan, and Tokyo is one of the most vibrant and fun cities in the world, that the course would reflect that excitement. But no, you basically drive on the road for 3 laps, and while there are some shortcuts, as well as some interesting turns and frumps, it hardly helps the course feel any more exciting. Overall, this feels more like a beta course than a finalized course, which sorta makes sense considering it was one of the first made specifically for Tour, but still, it's a real disappointment. Dry Desert is easily one of the weakest courses in the game. The name describes exactly what this course is about. It's a dry, boring desert. While there are some interesting elements in this course, that includes pokies that act as obstacles, as well as a sinkhole and an oasis. However, these elements just do the bare minimum, and even the oasis section can feel awkward at times. While the original version of this track also wasn't that great, it at least had more personality as there were tornadoes, and even the sinkhole had a piranha plant that eats you if you fall down, which is something that the 8 Deluxe version lacks. The only thing that is preventing this course from being in last place is that the shortcut opportunities are better here than they are on Tokyo Blur, as the fallen pillars are sort of cool. However, there's not much more I have to say about this course, except that it's just a very boring track that nobody really asked for. Toad's Turnpike is a course that is very disappointing, especially considering that there are 2 other tracks similar to it that are much better. All you do is basically drive around Figure 8 as you try to avoid oncoming traffic. However, the cars are so slow and the road is so wide that they are very easy to dodge. Even the original version was better, as not only was the cars much more of an obstacle as the road was narrow, but the background had a very pretty sunset instead of a bland city at night. While there are some interesting things in this track, like racing on beside the walls and gliding on top of trucks and driving on them, it still doesn't make up for what is mostly a bland and boring experience. Sunset Walls used to be a track that I thought was alright. However, the more I thought about it, the more problems I started to see. The main problem, obviously, is that there's actually no setting sun in 8 Deluxe's Sunset Walls, even though the original and even the tour version included it. It's like Nintendo just made the track as it was and was like, alright, that's good enough, instead of adding the setting sun. And see other details and content and the booster course tracks, it's really surprising that they didn't really try hard here. While the track still has some positives, like the mining Shy Guys and some nice shortcuts, the fact that the setting sun isn't here is really disappointing, and just brings down the whole course in my opinion. Sky High Sunday is a course that I honestly don't really have a strong opinion on one way or the other. I guess the gliding is cool, and the colors are nice, and there can be some nice trick opportunities as well. However, the controls can be awkward at times, as it takes a minute for your kart to fall down after a trick, and it just feels weird to go through the guardrails. Also, the course is so short and uninteresting that I often forget about racing on it 5 minutes after it happens. Again, some people might be fans of this course, but for me personally, I couldn't care any less about it. Blow Dry Dunes is actually a course that isn't as bad as I first thought. I do like the texture of the sand, as the red is much more pleasing than the boring beige of dry desert. There's also some nice shortcut opportunities as well, and the ending section with the anti-gravity bridge and Dry Bowser Cave with dry bones is pretty cool. However, with all that being said, the course is boring outside the cave section, and with the bumpy terrain on sand, racing on it can be very awkward. So while Bone Dry Dunes isn't a complete waste of time, it's still a course I wouldn't want to race on often. When Toad Circuit was first announced for the Booster Course Pass, there was a lot of backlash for this course's inclusion. Not only was it a course that the majority of fans didn't want, but when compared to the original version, the remake actually looks worse. However, I do think the hate is a little bit overdone, and while it does look worse graphically, the course is still fun to race on, with some nice turns and some pretty cool shortcut opportunities at the end. But yeah, overall the course is just okay, and I would rather see another 3DS track like Shy Guy Bazaar in its place. Mario Circuit 3 is very similar to Toad Circuit, in the fact that it's another relatively simple course with not much going on. With that being said, I do think racing on this track is funner, since the turns are more interesting, and it can get hectic with all the items on the road, especially in the last lap. However, I do think this course has shown up way too much. I would rather seen Mario Circuit 2, which has a glider ramp, or even Vanilla Lakes. It's got a really nice glow up in tour. Nevertheless, Mario Circuit 3 is still a fun course. Really, GBA's Mario Circuit is basically the same as the previous two courses. They're okay and nothing more. I will say that I thought the Ultra Hand anti-gravity section was pretty cool, due to it being a callback to when Nintendo used to make toys, and there were some really nice shortcuts as well. But besides that, there isn't really much more I can say about this course that I haven't said about the previous two, so let's move on. London Loop is another city course that's just boring to race on, as you basically just race on a road for 3 laps. This course would be low on the list if it wasn't for third lap, and where chain chomps actually get released onto the road and cause chaos, which can be pretty fun. There's also a drawbridge as well, but when compared to the one Delfino Square, it's really disappointing, and makes me wish that that course was in the game instead. So while it's a fun track, it's just really forgettable, and one that I wouldn't want to race on too much. Water Park is a course that has potential to be good, but sorta kept back due to being a Mushroom Cup course. I like the monorail section, and the fact that it gives you a speed boost after you make contact with it. And I also like the theme park aspects with the Ferris wheel, as well as the spinning teacups. However, with that being said, the course is just extremely bland and simple, as the race is basically driving through a building, entering the water, and then gliding out of the water. The course is still fine as it is, but I would have loved to see more options like racing around the park or going down some water slides. I wouldn't mind if this course was remade to be more fun down the road. Donut Plains 3 is a course that really surprised me by being better than I thought it would. For starters, the visuals compared to the original are really impressive. Besides the visual improvements, there's also some really cool shortcuts you can take in the water as well. However, it's still a Super Nintendo course, and it's very standard and basic, but at least it's better than Mario Circuit 3. Twisted Mansion is a course that has some nice moments, but is mostly forgettable. I like the haunted aspect with the booze and the hammer statues near the end, and the bookshelf shortcut is also nice as well. Besides that, the track is sorta meh, especially the water section, which probably could have been cut out, and doesn't serve any purpose besides showing how scary the water bill must be. Again, it's a fun track, but one I wouldn't want to race on too often. Cheeseland is another desert course, but unlike the others that I've talked about, it actually does have interesting themes, as the sand and objects are cheese themed, which I think is a really fun detail. There's also a lot of really fun turns and shortcuts to take as well, especially glider shortcuts at the end. However, with that being said, the course is really difficult to drive on, and it's easy to get messed up, especially by the cheese holes in the road that can launch you off the road. Besides that though, this is a really fun and solid course overall. I'll probably get some flack for this one, but I think Excite Bike Arena is a little bit overrated. Don't get me wrong, I still think tricking off ramps consistently is still fun. However, the track is just one big oval, and since there isn't really any obstacles besides mud puddles, you just drift 2 times and perform train tricks every lap, and it can get really repetitive. Again, it has its moments, but it is a track I wouldn't want to play on super often, and I think it is a little overrated personally. Sky Garden is a course that got a lot of negativity for its remake, and deservedly so since they removed a lot of the shortcuts that made the original great. However, with that being said, I still like this version of Sky Garden. The leaf shortcut and the beanstalk shortcut near the end are pretty fun to perform, and bouncing off the mushrooms is pretty fun as well. So while it's not as great as the original, there are still elements that make this version of Sky Garden a pretty solid course overall. Mario Kart 8's Mario Circuit is similar to Figure 8 Circuit, but Figure 8 Circuit was actually a fun and exciting course. For starters, I think the majority of the track being anti-gravity is pretty cool. It works as a good introduction to the gimmick, and seeing racers race above your head is a really nice feature as well. Besides that, there's also some ramps to trick off of and Goombas that act as obstacles. There's also a shortcut opportunity near the end of the track, as well as a nice glide section where you have to avoid the tower of Goombas. While the track isn't anything extraordinary, it does a solid job of doing what it's supposed to. Dragon Drift Ray is a course, but I like the theme more than the actual track itself. I really like the inspiration of Chinese architecture of this course, including the Lakitu sculptures. I also like how the dragon is a reference to Gobblegut from Super Mario Galaxy 2. However, besides that, the track is basically just racing down a long road, and while there are some shortcut opportunities, it doesn't really improve the experience too much. Again, I think the theme is cool, but the track itself is a little underwhelming in my opinion. New York Minute is a city course that, unlike London Loop or Tokyo Drift, actually does a decent job of representing its culture. You have Times Square that has some nice promotional billboards, as well as Central Park and Rockefeller Plaza. The theme music also gives off a nice New York feel as well. However, with that being said, there are still some elements that are missing. For example, the Statue of Liberty is in this course, and since it's the biggest monument in New York, it's a really strange decision for it not to be included. Besides that though, New York Minute is still a solid course that makes improvements from the previous city courses. Robavanti is another city course that does a nice job of portraying its culture. I really like the architecture around the course, and the fact they can actually race in the Coliseum. There's also some nice turns and gliding sections, as well as a cool chain chomp bridge in the third lap. While the course isn't anything special, it is a nice portrayal of Rome that has some good elements sprinkled throughout. Ice Ice Outpost is a course that I feel is a little bit overhated in my opinion. True, there are stretches at times where the track can be uninteresting, and the theme is also somewhat unimpressive. However, that being said, I still think there are some cool elements in this course, like some of the shortcuts are fun to perform, and the different pathways you can take are also unique as well. So while this course isn't anything mind-blowing, it's still a decent experience that deserves more credit in my opinion. Berry Mountain is a course that has some really nice elements. I like how the course is basically Christmas themed, with presents and candy canes scattered throughout a village. There's also a train that travels across the course, and you can actually race on the train tracks, which I thought was a really cool feature. However, the mountain section near the end is very slow, and kills a lot of momentum from the first half, not to mention the fact that it'd be sorta weird to race on a Christmas themed track in the middle of July. Despite that, Merry Mountain is still a solid course that is especially fun to race on during the holiday season. Boo Lake is the first of many examples of how old retros were vastly improved from their original versions. I really like the theme of racing on dark of a haunted lake, as the fog and booze create an eerie atmosphere. That's of course not mentioning the lake itself, which has some nice underwater anti-gravity sections, as well as a cool shortcut that is satisfying to perform. The final section is also really cool, as you get to trick off some ramps before you finally return to the surface, where you get a view of Luigi's mansion in a nice full moon. While the track is on the shorter side, it's still a fun racing experience overall. Snowland is similar to Boo Lake, in the fact that it's also a short retro course that has a good remake. However, Snowland is a little bit higher due to my preference of liking the atmosphere a little bit better. I really like the details with the snowmen and the trees, and the ice lake and penguins is also a really nice section as well. Not to mention that there are also a couple of nice shortcut opportunities near the end of the lap. Again, while it is a short course, Snowland is still fun to race on and has a nice atmosphere as well. Sweet Sweet Canyon is a nice course with a really interesting theme. I like the overall candy theme with the ice cream traffic cones, as well as the gingerbread toad audience. There are also some nice glide and anti-gravity sections, as well as a cool split path section. There's also a cool donut shortcut near the end of the course that is also really nice. While there are courses that do have better track design, since Sweet Sweet Canyon lacks any obstacles, it still has a really strong theme, which makes up for its shortcomings. Daisy Circuit is a pretty decent circuit course. I like the colors of the course with the buildings, as well as the sunset. I also love the detail of the middle section with the statues of Luigi and Daisy. Speaking of which, there's also a really cool shortcut near the beginning, which actually allows you to glide near the statues, which I think is a really cool feature. However, there's about a dozen other courses that have a city theme, Daisy Circuit doesn't stand out as much, but still, it's a decent course that I have a good time with. Yoshi's Valley is another pretty good course. I like the multiple pathways that you can take throughout, and the rotating Yoshi egg is also a nice obstacle. That's also not to mention the track having some pretty decent shortcuts near the end as well. However, with that being said, it's obvious that the bridge pathway is the best one. I wish they made the shorter paths a little harder, so there's more of a risk-reward factor with the shorter paths, like in the original version. But besides that, Yoshi Valley is still a pretty solid course overall. Baby Park is a track that has a very interesting history. While people enjoyed the original version on the GameCube, the remake on the DS was disappointing to say the least. With that being said, this version of Baby Park does a great job of capturing the feeling of the original. Not only is the track 7 laps, but the visuals are much improved, as the atmosphere of the amusement park adds to the chaos of the race. I also like the decision of making the course anti-gravity, as bumping into the racers can actually give you a speed boost. There's not really much more to say, just a good course that gives off a fast and chaotic experience. Calamari Desert is a desert course that is actually fun to race on. Not only are there some cool shortcut and glider opportunities, but there's also a train that acts as an obstacle. It even adds a twist to the third lap, as you actually get to race on the train tracks themselves, and try to avoid having a head-on collision with the train. This is just a very solid course overall, with a really fun unique gimmick that I wish more desert courses utilized. Berlin Byways is another city course, and while there are a few sections that can be uninteresting, I think there are some elements that make this track worthwhile. There are cores that act as obstacles, and while it isn't the best track to do so, it's at least more challenging than the ones in Toad's Turnpike. There's also the Berlin Wall, which while it is a real element, since it basically confirms communism exists in the Mario universe, it's a cool trick off the ramps, and you can even cut a big gap if you're lucky enough. Again, not a great course by any means, but still a fun, enjoyable one that definitely has its moments. Riverside Park is a short course, but still a really fun and enjoyable time. I like the atmosphere of the jungle, and the turns are also pretty fun. There's also patootie plants that can release items once you hit them, and there's also a really nice cave section where you get tricked through a waterfall at the end, which I think is really cool. Again, it's a basic course, but I think it does a good job of being a fun and energetic experience. Moo Moo Meadows is another track that's pretty simple, but it's also really nice. I really like the sunset, and think that's an improvement from the Wii version. There's also some nice turns, as well as a cool gliding section and some trick opportunities with the ramps and molehills. Of course, let's not mention the cows that act as obstacles, which is just a really awesome detail. Again, not the most ambitious track, but it's a nice relaxing escape from a mostly chaotic experience of Mario Kart. Yoshi's Circuit is another pretty good circuit course. I think the fact that the track is literally shaped as a Yoshi is a really cool feature. I also like how the colors pop out more than the DS version. There are also some nice turns, as well as shortcut opportunities, like over the flower patch and through the waterfall at the beginning. There are some missing elements from the original version, like the Yoshi copters and the underground shortcut. But even without those elements, Yoshi's Circuit is still a pretty good course overall. Royal Raceway is a simple course that's pretty good. Turns are fun to take, and there's also a lot of off-road shortcuts as well. There's also a pretty cool glide section, where you can hear the bells from Peach's castle, that I also thought was a pretty cool feature. Again, just another basic course that's fun to race on. Paris Promenade is probably the first city course that I would consider being pretty good. While it doesn't have the most complex layout, it's still a nice track to race on nonetheless. I think the detail with the music and buildings fit the theme of Paris well, and there's also a nice glide section over a fountain. You can also race under the Eiffel Tower, as well as take an alternative pathway, that's of course not mentioned in the shortcut with the Ruined Piranhas, but is also fun to take. Overall, I think this is a fun course to race on, and it does a good job of representing the city of Paris. Cheep Cheep Beach is a track that I previously talked about in my DS video, and not much has changed from this version, except that they added a glider ramp, and can now race in the water and cut more of the corner. Besides those changes, the track is still nice. I still like the jungle section, and there's even some new shortcut opportunities in the water as well. While the track doesn't have anything unique or interesting, this is just a pretty good course overall. Los Angeles laps is the first city course that actually provides some variety. The first lap takes place on a beach, which has some nice zips and ramps to trick off of, as well as crabs to avoid. The second lap you get to see more of the city, as you get to trick off more ramps. There are also some nice shortcut opportunities as well. Of course, let's not mention the glider section above the baseball park, which is actually a really cool feature. On the final lap, you get to race in a big oil rig field, and it's fun that there are multiple pathways to take, and there's even a nice glider shortcut as well. While I wish there was some reference to Hollywood on the track, since that is one of the biggest attractions in the area, I still thought LA Laps did a good job of representing California by being a fun track. Choco Mountain got a pretty nice redesign from its original and DS versions. The biggest difference being the cave section, as it's now full of blue gems, which is a really nice improvement. There's also a glide section as well, which has a nice touch. You also have the same boulders to avoid and hills to trick off of. So overall, a pretty good course that got a few nice upgrades. This is probably another controversial opinion, but I think Hyrule Sucker is sorta overrated. Don't get me wrong, I think the coins being replaced with rupees is a cool feature. I also like the castle section, as you basically hit 3 crystals before getting a boost from the Master Sword, as well as the theme music that captures the spirit of Zelda well. But besides that, most of the course is just a big grass field, which there's a lot of courses like that in Mario Kart. Again, I think the track is good, and I appreciate that they made a Legend of Zelda track, but is it something that I would put in the top half of the list? Sydney Spring is another really fun city course. I like the atmosphere with the circus, plus there's also some cool trick opportunities on the top of some trucks as well. Not to mention the fact that you actually get to drive in the Sydney Opera House, and the theme music of the track just really gives off an energetic vibe. Again, another good city course that does a good job of representing Sydney, while also being really fun and energetic as well. For being the first course in the game, Mario Kart Stadium does a really nice job of introducing the players to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. There are a lot of nice turns, and the stadium with chewing toes give off an exciting atmosphere. There's also a nice anti-gravity and glide section, as well as a couple of shortcut opportunities. There's not much more to say about this course, but it's extremely fun, which is impressive considering it's meant to be a starter course. Athens Dash was a course that I wasn't a fan of, but the more I thought about it, the more I saw that Athens Dash is actually a pretty good course. What I like about this course is that it doesn't really feel like the rest of the city courses, as instead of driving through a city, you explore some ancient Greek ruins, which I thought was a really cool idea. It's also cool that you get to race on some ancient structures, and there's also a lot of trick opportunities on fallen pillars, as well as some nice off-road shortcuts. I especially like the ending of the second and third laps, as you get to race up the stairs of a temple. Overall, Athens Dash is a good city course that differentiates itself by having some cool architecture. Dolphin Shoals is a pretty good underwater course. Now to be fair, the first half is sorta underwhelming. While it is cool to see the dolphins, there are also some nice trick opportunities through some rings and also some pipe currents, but it's just not really anything outstanding. It is until the second half where things start to pick up, as there's a giant eel that you can drive and trick off of, and that's not even mentioning Ring Gear on the surface, as an epic sax solo starts playing. The course is honestly carried pretty hard by the second half, but still, it's a pretty decent course all around. For me, Sherbet Land is pretty much an evolved version of Snowland, as Sherbet Land adds a lot more content. I really like the fireworks in the background, as well as the ice skating Shy Guys, which really makes the track feel fun and festive. There's also a lot of fun turns to take, as well as alternative routes, as you can either choose to race on land or underwater in some sections. That's also not including the off-road shortcut opportunities as well. Sherbet Land is just a very fun course that has a nice atmosphere, as well as many racing options to choose from. One of the most notable things about Mario Kart Deluxe is that it has 5 different versions of Rainbow Road, and the new one made for 8 is Barricas, according to the majority of fans. Don't get me wrong, I still think it's a good track. I think there's a lot of fun turns, and the grind sections are also pretty good as well. Not to mention the space station and the split path section that allows you to take some pretty nice shortcuts. But besides that, this Rainbow Road doesn't capture the spirit of previous ones. The thing that made Rainbow Road special was that it was Rainbow Road, which is something that's only seen in nature. However, this Rainbow Road is mechanical, and with spaceships everywhere, plus the duller colors of the rainbow, it just doesn't live up to the previous Rainbow Roads. Again, not a bad course, but it just doesn't live up to its namesake. Daisy's Cruiser is a really nice summer course. I really like the theme of the track, as it basically takes place in the middle of the ocean, on a cruise ship, which I think is a really interesting idea. There are also some really nice features as well, which includes a pool full of Goombas and the dining room section that has moving tables as obstacles. That's also not including the meal section, where you can choose between either racing on the surface or underwater, which I thought was a unique feature. Overall, this is just a very good track, especially during the summertime season. Rock Mountain is a course that I feel is a little bit underrated in my opinion. I really like the glide sections, as glide through the forest from the top of the mountain is a really cool idea. I especially like the final section, as you basically try to climb up a big hill while dodging boulders and hit boost pads, which can really be exciting. There are also a lot of glide and off-road shortcut opportunities as well that can save a lot of time and are also fun to perform. While Rock Mountain might not be the most ambitious track, I think its simple premise and ideals lead to a really good course overall. Rosalina's Ice World was a course that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but after racing on it a few times, I saw just how good this course was. I really like the galaxy theming, as seeing the home planet in the sky, as well as the observatory at the beginning, is a really nice nod to the game. Besides the theme, this course also has some really nice elements. That includes a nice turn at the beginning, as well as the option to either race on top or below of an ice sheet. There's also a split path section and also a shortcut near the end, which I think only adds to the many possibilities this track provides. This is just a really nice track with beautiful atmosphere and fun elements sprinkled in. Start the top half of the rankings, we have DS's Mario Circuit. This is a course I already talked about twice, so I won't spend too much time here. I think this is easily one of the best circuit courses in the game. I really like the Fire Piranha Plant section, as dodging the fireballs is somewhat challenging. I also love the new fourth section that was added, especially the addition of the Wriggler that acts as an obstacle in the final lap, as well as the tight turns at the end of the lap. I just really like the fact that this track is both fun and challenging, which is why I think it's one of the best circuit courses in the series. Neo Bowser City is another course that I initially wasn't too crazy about, but will eventually grow on me. I really like the atmosphere of the course, as the futuristic Neon City gives off a really strong Blade Runner vibe. While the track is simplistic, I think the rainmaker return slick, as well as them being tight, can make the track challenging and fun, which can be satisfying once you get the track down. With the course being both fun and challenging, as well as having a really cool atmosphere, Neo Bowser City is easily a course I enjoy racing and trying to improve my skills on. Shy Guy Falls is a course that has a simple premise, but a really nice execution. I love the detail behind Shy Guys, as I thought it was a cute feature. There are also a lot of fun tricks to perform, as well as some good anti-gravity sections. I especially love racing up and down Giant Waterfall, which is an awesome section. That's also not including a fun cave section, as well as a cool shortcut at the end of the track. Overall, Shy Guy Falls is just a really simple course, but has some really cool themes and ideas. Animal Crossing is just a very calm and lovely course. I love all the references to the game, as there's balloons that carry item boxes, as well as P.S I, which acts as an obstacle. But my favorite feature is the fact that as of now, this is the only course in the Mario Kart series that has 4 seasonal variants, and with that being said, I will begin to rank every variant. In 4th place we have Summer. It's nice, but it's sort of a default variant, and the others are more pleasing aesthetically. In 3rd place we have Spring. I really love the cherry blossom trees, and the addition of extra ramps makes this variant fun. In 2nd place we have Autumn. I really like the sunset, and the leaves are also very pretty as well. It reminds me of another course that we'll get to later on down the list. As my favorite variant, and in 1st place, we have Winter. This is probably one of the prettiest tracks in the series. With the Christmas lights, as well as the night sky with the award, it really adds to the atmosphere, along with snowmen that act as obstacles. Overall, Animal Crossing is a really nice course that has a really nice atmosphere, as well as a cool gimmick with the seasonal variants. Wario Stadium is a really fun course that feels like a stunt show. I really love the boost section where you go through mud, as well as jumping through some fire hoops. I especially love the addition of the anti-gravity bridge, as it adds an exciting element to the course, and the underwater section is also pretty nice as well. There's not much more I can really say about this track, it's just a very fun and exciting course that has a lot of cool elements. Super Bell Subway is a course that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, and I think it's a little bit underrated. I think it's an interesting idea for a track to take place in a subway terminal. The subway section is probably the best part, as not only dodging trains are fun, but the multiple pathways you can take, plus the fact that you can actually race on the train just adds another dynamic. Again, another course that is pretty basic, but adds a lot of features to make each race feel unique. Amsterdam Drift is another city course that has a lot of variety to it. I love how it's a mix with being both urban and rural, as the windmills and grass fields are really nice. The water section in lap 2 is also one of the best water sections in the game, as being pushed around by the current is a really fun and unique design. Not to mention the flower field in the third lap, which is just very pleasing to look at, and fits the city of Amsterdam well, and stands as one of the more visually pleasing city courses. Swamp Ruins is a really nice course. I love the ruins at the beginning, as avoidable rolling boulders, as well as the optional anti-gravity section, adds an interesting option for racers. Speaking of options, I think the middle section is really good, as you can choose between a glider, underwater, or anti-gravity section. I think the multiple options add a whole new dynamic to the course. There is also some bumps that act as nice obstacles, as well as some pretty decent shortcut opportunities. Overall, Swamp Ruins is a pretty good course, that is made great by the extra choices you can make. Shroom Ridge is another course that I've talked about a lot, so I won't spend too much time on it here. I love the fact that Shroom Ridge feels just like a road trip, and racing on a mountainside while trying to avoid cars gives the racer a calm but also exciting feeling. I also love the additional shortcuts, as it just makes the track more fun as you perform them. Overall, Shroom Ridge is just a really nice course that, while relaxing, can also be fun and challenging as well. Vancouver Velocity is a really cool city course. I think the atmosphere is pretty, as you race in the peaceful lakeside and woods, as well as the dazzling city lights. I also think that there's a lot of cool sights to see as well, which includes the anti-gravity bridge section, as well as the ice rink with the skating shy guys, which fits the vibe of Canada really well. Again, not much else to say, but just another really cool course that does a good job of portraying Vancouver. Like the last entry, Madrid Drive is another really cool city course. I like it slightly more than Vancouver Velocity, just because there's more content to this one. For example, I think the art section with the piranha plant that comes to life is a nice nod to Super Mario 64, and the Wriggle Up square that eventually wakes up is also a nice touch. Not to mention the soccer field, with Shumas and soccer balls acting as obstacles, which is really cool, as well as the Spanish guitar as the track theme that fits really well. Madrid Drive does a really nice job of capturing the culture of Spain, and with all the additions, stands as a really great city course. One of my favorite track types is the Bowser Castle courses, and the Bowser course that was made for 8 is actually pretty decent. I like the statues that shoot out lasers, which is something new to the Mario Kart series, and having to avoid a giant spike ball and a rotating fireball are also pretty fun obstacles. There's also a giant Bowser statue, and while this is probably the weakest of the trope, it's still pretty cool as Bowser punches the road, and you have to pick the right pathway to avoid being punched. Finally, there's a nice gliding section over a pool of lava, and you have to avoid being hit by boulders to finish the lap. Overall, this is a really fun and exciting course that has a lot of fun obstacles to dodge, as well as choices that makes the race even more unpredictable. Global Volcano is a course that I really like. The fact that the course is literally hell, as the road tears apart each lap, and fireballs and volcanic eruption tries to mess up your race. It's really exciting. There's also a lot of nice gliding sections, and the atmosphere with the lava and erupting volcano is both ominous and awesome. This is just a great course that has a really cool gimmick that makes the track both challenging and fun. Wario's Gold Mine is an extremely fun course. I love how the track feels like a roller coaster, as there's many hills to race up and down on. There's also the mining section, which includes mining carts as well as 2 alternative pathways. While it is disappointing that the mining carts don't act as obstacles like in the original version, it's still fun to get boost off from them, and with the constant speed boost in hills, Wario's Gold Mine stands as a great course. Bangkok Rush is the first city course that I would call great. I really like the beginning section with the boats, as it provides some variety to the track. I also like how there are a lot of alternative pathways, as you can actually drive on some of the buildings, as well as having a glide section above a really cool building. The final lap is also fun, as you drift through a parking garage and bounce off some tents. Overall, Bangkok Rush provides a lot of fun elements that differentiates itself from most other city courses. Waluigi Stadium is very similar to Wario Stadium, in that it also has a lot of tricks with fire hoops, as well as feeling like a stunt show. However, I think Waluigi Stadium is better because there's just more to this course, like some off-road shortcuts, and even an alternative anti-gravity pathway. There's also a piranha plant section that is also pretty cool to race through as well. Again, like Wario Stadium, this course also has an exciting feel, and even provides more elements to make the course fun. Piranha Plant Cove is a track that has a really cool theme in my opinion. I really like the theme of racing in an underwater ruin, as well as the PD Piranha statues. There's also a lot of cool shortcut opportunities to perform, and various tricks and glide sections to spice up the race. Overall, Piranha Plant Cove is a really cool course, where each lap feels different, and the atmosphere and race feels adventurous and exciting. Toad Harbor is a basic course, but I really enjoyed the simplicity of it. There's a cool boost section where you can trick off the boat, and there's even some alternative pathways you can take. There's also a cool anti-gravity section, and even some cable carts that can race and trick off of if you have enough skill, which I think is really cool. Again, Toad Harbor is a basic course, but I think it has some nice features that make it stand out from similar courses. Super Nintendo's Rainbow Road is a short track, but provides a very memorable experience, with it being both fun and hard. The abundance of ramps and lack of any guardrails can cause some challenges, but there are a lot of ramps to trick off of, and even some cool shortcut opportunities. Not to mention the shockwaves caused by the ramps as well, which can give you a risk-reward factor if you decide to trick off them. The track is also really pretty as well, since the colors of the moonlit sky gives off a really nice atmosphere to the track. While this is one of the shorter tracks in the game, it's still a great classic due to its unique theme and difficulty. Piranha Plant Slide is a course but I feel like people forget about sometimes, which is a shame because I personally enjoy this course. I think it's cool that you race down in a sewer, as it's similar to the Super Mario Bros. Underground levels, and the Piranha Plants and Goombas are also fun obstacles. There's also a really cool underwater section that includes currents that push you up another platform. This also includes another piranha plant with currents pushing you towards it, and it's an interesting choice since it forces you to choose the right path. The gliding section is also really fun, as you go up vertically as if you're escaping the sewer and going back to the surface world. This is just a really great idea for a course, and it's utilized really well with some cool driving and underwater sections. Sunshine Airport has a really cool theme, as you basically get to race in an airport. I like how you have to avoid cargo boxes, and driving inside the airplane is also really cool. There's also a really nice glide section where you race up on a structure high up in the air, and sometimes the plane can actually fly over you. You can even get a chance to race on and trick off the plane, which I think is just an amazing detail. Overall, this is a really fun course with an amazing theme. N64's Rainbow Road is probably one of the prettiest courses in the game. Not only are the colors magnificent, but the night sky and fireworks above the city are just beautiful to look at. The track itself is also fun, as there's plenty of tight turns and chain chomps that enhances the difficulty, as well as some pretty nice glide sections and a flying train, which is just awesome. There's a good reason why this course is in the box cover of Mario Kart Deluxe, as not only is it a magnificent looking course, but there's just a lot of variety on the track, and acts as a nice finale to the base game. Peach Gardens is a course that I previously talked about in my DS rankings video, and what I said there applies to this version as well. I think the course is lovely, as the flowers really make the course pop out, and the track theme gives the course an elegant feel. I also love the maze section, as it forces you to change your route depending on where the chain chomp is going, and the newly added hedge models of Mario characters just adds more personality to the track. That's of course not mentioned in the third lap, where you actually get to drive the track in reverse, and the glide section where you can interact with the hedge models, which is just a really satisfying conclusion. Overall, this is a really good remake, as it made an already great course into something that feels much more special in my opinion. Cloud Top Cruise is a really dynamic course, as there's a lot of elements that make this course fun to race on. I think it's cool how you get to race on the clouds before getting on an airship where you get launched into a storm cloud. This is where the track really gets good, as the atmosphere gets darker and the track theme turns into a rock solo. There's also lightning that strikes the boost pads, and you have to be careful in selecting which pad to take to avoid being struck. With the course's overall atmosphere, plus some pretty risky but satisfying shortcuts, Cloud Top Cruise is a track that feels special. Coconut Mall is probably one of the most popular Mario Kart tracks in the series, not only for its theme music, but also have a unique concept of taking place in a mall. While this version of Coconut Mall isn't perfect, since they made the parking lot section way too easy with the cars barely moving, it's still Coconut Mall. Racing up down the escalators is fun. I especially like the addition of the colorful murals throughout the track, as it adds a lot of personality. Besides the parking lot section, Coconut Mall is still a great course, and remains a classic in the Mario Kart series. Ribbit Road has become the poster child of a retro course getting a new revamp, as when you compare the original version to the 8 Deluxe one, it's like a night and day transformation. While the original version is still solid, this version changes things up, as the course takes place in a child's bedroom, which is a really fun and unique idea. There's also a lot of fun background details, includes some Mario Kart inspired toys, and a Lakitu poster that has a parody of the first Kung Fu Panda movie poster, which is a really cool detail. The track itself is also really good, as not only are there some nice turns to take and Mecha Koopa enemies, but there are separate sections, which I think is really cool. I especially like the Ravy section at the end, since not only are there trick opportunities, but there's also some challenging shortcuts as well, which can be really satisfying to perform. This is essentially a track that turned from being okay to being something much more, and showing the potential that retro courses have. Moonview Highway is probably one of the best traffic courses in the series, and for good reason, since the course just provides a really nice rush. I really like the atmosphere of the track, as the first half takes place in a countryside mountain, while the second half takes place in the city, which I think is a really cool unique feature. I especially love the second half, as it's really satisfying to hit the speed boost, and avoid the cars as you race to the finish line. This is just a really great track overall, as the tight turns in traffic and speed ramps throughout the city make for a really fun and exciting course. DK Jungle is a really good course, as it takes a lot of inspiration from the Donkey Kong Country series. I especially like the enemies that are scattered throughout the course, as well as the ending section as you glide by some screaming pillars and have 2 alternative pathways to choose from. Hell, there's even a temple that has a big golden banana in it. If you don't think that's awesome, then I don't know what to tell you. Overall, this course does a really good job of being fun and unique, while also capturing the feeling of the Donkey Kong Country series. Mushroom Gorge is a course with a simple premise, but it's executed so well that it's been brought back multiple times, and is one of the most iconic tracks in the series. The thing that makes this course so great is obviously the mushrooms, as it's really satisfying to bounce and trick off them, especially in the cave section, which has multiple pathways. That's of course not mentioning the various shortcuts that are really fun to perform, especially the gap jump near the end. While this isn't the most ambitious track, it still became iconic due to the fun and vibrant energy this course brings. Mute City is not only a very exciting course, but it's also a great representation of the F-Zero series, with its breakneck speed and purple panels that give you coins. This course is just pure speed, as you constantly hit boost pads and go fast. The course is also anti-gravity, so bumping into racers just gives you more speed. I also really love the ending section, as you race down a hill to the finish line. There's also a shortcut that is also really fun to perform as well. While Mute City might not be the most detailed course, it's still fun as hell with the very fast-paced energy of the track. Electrodrome is easily one of the strongest courses from the original 16 tracks. I really love the atmosphere of this course, as it feels like a huge rave with the colors and dancing toads and Koopas. I also love how there's a light ring drive on the road in the anti-gravity section, as well as the alternative pathways that lead to a pretty cool glide section at the end. This course is easily one of the highlights from the original tracks, due to having a really fun atmosphere and cool elements throughout the track. Bowser Castle 3 is an extremely good remake of the SNES course, which is impressive considering how weak the majority SNES courses are here. I really love how the atmosphere is intimidating with the volcano and lava, as well as the added anti-gravity section, since it gives the course more dynamic and makes the turns harder. There's also a lot of really nice shortcut opportunities, and can even race on top of the swamps at the end, which is a really cool feature. That's of course not mentioned in the wall section with the multiple pathways, as well as the option to actually race on top of the wall, which is a really amazing addition. For being an SNES course, and the second Bowser Castle track in the game, this track does a really good job of being innovative and reimagining itself. Koopa Cape is personally one of my favorite courses in the series. Not only does Koopa Troopa play a huge part in my persona, but this track theme is also my outro. What I love about this course is the overall track design, as racing through forests down running water is really exciting, and the Koopa shells add a really nice touch. That's of course not mentioned in the underwater tube, as the zip ramps along with the anti-gravity boosters are a really nice addition. However, they did remove the rotating electrical bars from the original, and while that is a little bit disappointing, it really doesn't change my thoughts too much about Koopa Cape, and I still find it a great track. Wild Woods is a really cool track. I love the atmosphere of the hidden village in the woods that comprise of Shy Guys, as it gives off a very Smurf-like feeling. The track is also pretty fun as well, since there are some alternative pathways in the beginning, as well as a pretty nice anti-gravity bridge section that leads to a gliding section. After gliding is when things really pick up, as you race down a rushing water slide that is really exhilarating, before boosting on some lily pads, which is again awesome. Hell, there's even a shortcut at the end to make the ending that much more amazing. Wild Woods is somewhat of a short track, but every second of it feels like something is going on, especially the second half, which probably has the best ending section in the series. Tick-Tock Clock is a course that I've previously talked about in my DS video, and there I complimented it for being one of the most unique tracks in the game, with it taking place in the Clock World from 64. This version takes things up a notch, as the design pops out a lot more, and there are also several new trick opportunities as well. They even changed the finish line to a long clock, which is just a cool idea. Besides those changes, the track is relatively the same, with the pendulums that act as obstacles, and the rotating gears and clock hands that change your direction. The changes turned an already great track into something that is excellent by the improved visuals and unique objects. DK Mountain is a simple but really great course. I love how the track gives you a rush by being launched up a mountain and trying to race back down. I really like the details of the volcano and rock ramps, and there's also a lot of fun elements as well, like sharp turns, rolling boulders, and a swaying bridge that can be difficult to stay on. Overall, DK Mountain is really fun and energetic track, that is easily one of the staples in the series. DK Summit is very similar to DK Mountain, in the fact that like DK Mountain, you also get launched up a mountain and you have to race back down. I love how the track has a skiing-like setup with the multiple zips and hills that can trick off of, which is including the drifting section near the end, where you can actually perform a really cool double gap shortcut. The ending is also really good as well, since there are two zips with snowboard and Shy Guys as obstacles, and you have to be careful or you could get stuck in the snow or get hit by the Shy Guys. Again, like DK Mountain, this is another fun and energetic course that remains a staple in the series. Ninja Hideaway is probably one of the most detailed courses in the entire series, as there are many different pathways and shortcuts that make this course fun. I love how there are many options when racing, as at the beginning you can choose to either race on the bottom with a descending spike wall, or on the top to avoid it altogether, which I think is a really cool detail. The glide section is also really cool as well, since there are ninja Shy Guys that turn into bananas, and bamboo shoots that blow up air, that can allow you to reach an alternative pathway to the roof. Finally, to end things off, you race on the roof with several propellers blowing up air, where you can choose to either race on the first or second floor. Again, just the multiple pathways makes this track an amazing experience. That's not even including the atmosphere, as the Japanese shoji and cherry blossoms are a really nice tribute to Japanese culture, and does a way better job at it than Tokyo Blur. There's also a lot of cool shortcuts throughout the track, like with the run piranha plants at the spike walls section, and the much more difficult gap jump near the end. For being a tour track, Ninja Hideaway is a really ambitious course, and it's a great example of what future Mario Kart tracks could look like. To start off the top 10, we have what I believe to be the best city course, Singapore Speedway. The thing that separates this city course from the others is that a lot more detail was put into this one. There's a lot of cool elements throughout the track, which includes a pool on rooftop full of Goombas, as well as a conveyor belt section in the third lap. That's also not mentioning the atmosphere, as it does a good job of showing both futuristic and traditional aspects, with the neon lights scattered throughout the course, as well as the street market. This course also includes some of the best line sections in the series, as not only do you get glide up to a rooftop pool, but you also glide over a soccer field and a white lily, which is just really awesome. While city courses might have a bad rep, I think Singapore Speedway is an exception, as it has a really cool atmosphere and some great driving sections. Look at Music Park, it's still hard to see why this is easily one of the best courses in the series, which is due to its unique theme. I love the piano tiles that make sound when you drive over them, as well as the piranha plants that bob their head to the music. The ending section is probably the best part, as you get to bounce and trick off some drums before you reach a section where you can either race by or glide above some large music notes. If you decide to drive, you then notice that the notes bounce with the rhythm of the music that gives you a nice trick opportunity, which I think is a really amazing feature. Again, this is one of the most ambitious courses in the series, since not only is the theme really cool, but there's also a lot of elements that further strengthen the course's ideas. Waluigi Pinball is a course that hasn't really changed much since its DS debut, yet easily remains as one of the strongest courses in the entire series. You have the same cool and colorful kaleidoscope glide section at the beginning, as well as the constant pinballs rolling down the track and acting as obstacles. The ending sections where the track becomes iconic, as bumpers and pinballs make you have to plan out your route to avoid being hit. I've talked about this track previously, so I don't have much else to say, but Waluigi Pinball has done a great job at being great, while changing very little. Squeaky Clean Sprint is easily one of the most ambitious and dynamic courses in the entire series, as there's just so many details that make this track great. The begin section is really cool as you race in a sink and then into the bathtub, where you can either drive on some sponges or trick off some foaming bath bombs. You then drive into a drain where you can take a shortcut under a wedding ring, which is a really nice detail. Once you exit the drain, you then enter a section where soap bubbles and a blown fan makes driving very slippery. You can then glide above the toilet and finish the lap. During the second and third laps, the toilet actually shoots up water, which allows you to access some alternative pathways, which will give you access to a path only accessible in the final lap, which is an awesome detail. I could make a whole video about all the other details and features that are included in this course, but just goes to show just how strong of a track Squeaky Clean Sprint is. When it was first discovered, the last track in the booster course pass was a Wii track, people immediately realized it was Wii's Rainbow Road. Which makes sense, considering that this is a great finale, as not only are the colors amazing, but there's a lot of boost pads and zips to make this track exciting. Speaking of which, there's also some really cool launching sections that are just visually stunning to look at, and there's also a split pathway near the end as well. However, my favorite feature about this course is the atmosphere. I really love the star bits throughout the course, and it serves as a nice tribute to Mario Galaxy. You also race above the Earth's surface, and when you fall, you start burning up and crash like a meteor, which I think is just an amazing detail. So not only is Wii's Rainbow Road a great course, but it's also a perfect finale, as the awesome atmosphere and fun elements make for a really exciting and memorable track. Maple Tree Way is probably one of the best courses aesthetically. I love the cozy vibe the track theme gives off, and it's really satisfying to see the pretty orange and red leaves. Besides the aesthetics, this track also contains a lot of cool elements, which includes a cannon that launches you up a giant tree, and giant wrigglers that act as obstacles. There's also a really nice turn that has zips, and some really fun speed ramps, where you jump from tree to tree, which is also a fun design. Maple Tree Way is one of the few courses that has had multiple remakes that have seen little change, yet still remains as one of the best tracks in the series. Big Blue is pretty much the evolved version of Mute City, as like Mute City, this course also has a breakneck speed. However, Big Blue is more ambitious in its track design, and as a result, is an excellent course. The first lap is very similar to Mute City, with the speed boost and purple panels. However, the track is also slant, so the turns feel more dynamic. There are also some alternative pathways to make the race more interesting, as well as conveyor belts that can either speed you up or slow you down, which is another cool feature. The second lap is probably my favorite, since you have multiple water slides to race on, and there are even some really nice off-road shortcuts you can perform. On the final lap, you get more conveyor belts to race on, before racing downhill, which can be a really hectic mad dash to the finish line, as everyone's trying to finish first. Big Blue is a course that never has a dull moment, with its fast-paced nature and unique sections, which usually results in a track that is really fun to race on. Yoshi's Island does a really nice job of showing fan service to the Yoshi series, as it includes a lot of features including Poochie, Bert, the track theme, and Yoshi coins. The track is also extremely varied in its layout, as besides the standard grasslands, you also have underwater sections that leads to a cave and up a hill, before you finally race in clouds. Speaking of which, there's also a cloud you can hit that summons a red bridge that acts as a shortcut, which is just a really fantastic idea, and probably one of the coolest shortcuts in the entire series. Yoshi's Island is not only a good tribute course to its series, but it's also a fantastic course overall, due to its unique features and varied layout. Out of all the Rainbow Roads of the Mario Kart series, 3DS's Rainbow Road is easily the one that stands out the most to me, since not only are the colors and aesthetics beautiful, but the track is also split into 3 different sections. On the first lap, there's several drifting options to perform around planets, as well as several ramps that allow for tricks, and I just love the details of the planets, along with stars and galaxies in the background. The second lap includes some really amazing sections, as gliding in space with some boost stars is really cool, and that does not include racing on the rings of Saturn, and even racing on the moon, which is just amazing. I especially love the moon section, since the low gravity of the moon, plus the fact they have to avoid rolling chain chomps, makes for some really unique racing options. Finally, on preferred lap, you ride some conveyor belts before entering a tube, where you can either decide to race on the ground and hit some speed ramps, or glide through some boost stars before ending the race. This rainbow road is just magnificent, as not only are the colors and atmosphere beautiful, but there's so many elements and options that makes this course perfect. However, with that being said, there is one track that I prefer just a little bit better. Out of all the tracks in 8 Deluxe and the series as a whole, there's not a course more dynamic and innovative than awhile, as this is another track that's split into 3 sections. I love how the first lap starts, as you get off a plane and race down a mountain. There are multiple split pathways that you can take while racing down, as well as a really cool gap shortcut at the end. The second lap is also really cool, as you enter a cave and can either glide over it while hitting boost pads, or race down the rushing current. You then race on the side of a dam as there's water flowing down, as well as boost pads in the current, which is a really cool section. Finally, you enter a forest that has several trees that act as obstacles, and it can be hard to navigate, but it's still a great section that tests your skills. The final lap has a skiing-like feeling, as you take some tight turns through some slalom gates, and yes, I just found out what that term meant, as well as tricking off some small bumps that can be really satisfying. You then approach one last glide section, where you glide down to the bottom of the mountain and have a mad dash to the finish line. With the course feeling like a marathon, with each section having its own unique feel and challenges, as well as the third lap feeling like an Olympic event, I think it's easy to see why this is my favorite track from 8 Deluxe, and maybe even the entire series. Finally, Bliss is completed. Anyway, if you stuck around for this long, I just wanted to thank you. This is the longest video that I've ever made, and while it was an exhausting period at times, I still love doing it because I love the Mario Kart series. I especially love this game as it changed so much over 10 years, from being a game that had 32 tracks and a very limited character roster, to having one of the most abundant roster and character selections in the series. Again, thank you all for watching this video, and if you're new, I hope I can see your support in future videos. Anyway, with that being said, Koopa out. Hey Mario, is that good enough for you?
Ah, spaghetti. Ah, ravioli. Ah, mamma mia.
Mario! Well, I finished the list, and I would like to go now.
Patanzunan po ka na po, fratello. Ito talaga itong spaghetti.
Actually, I don't think I will. I actually called someone a while back to come pick me up. But before we go, I think we should teach you a lesson.
Para tutto lavato, tutto. Tutto lavato, l'abito. Ma tutto lavato, tutto ng pagkinabato. Tutto lavato.
Oh, hi! I'm Patchy the Pirate, president of the SpongeBob SquarePants Fan Club!